Tyrese, what needs to change from this entire team and from you moving forward to Game 6?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just rebounding, finishing possessions. No secret that they dominated the glass, so we got to be able to finish possessions better. Um, and then once we do that, that allows our offense everything to open up. So we got to finish possessions better, and I just got to be more aggressive early in the game, setting the tone, and we'll be better.
We heard you say that be more aggressive a couple times. Is there a point in games like Game 1 and 5 where you feel like, oh, I haven't been yet during the game? Or does it not really happen until you kind of reflect later?
No, I have feel like I can feel it during the game, but just got to do a better job of adjusting that when need be and figuring that out. Not necessarily. And again, aggressive doesn't mean shoot 30 shots or whatever it is. Just getting 2 feet in the paint, being more aggressive. Kind of old school way of thinking. At least that's what my high school coaches used to say. Like, get 2 feet in the paint all the time. So just kind of that mentality is better for us.
I would say that's probably the most you've been denied in this series. How do you try to find the sweet spot between, like, guys, give me the ball and, working through a denial and letting your teammates kind of do their thing?
Just figuring it out. Having some feel also, like, not running to get the ball when dudes are in the middle of a pick and roll or in the middle of dribble moves and stuff like that. Just figuring it out. But at the end of the day, I just got to be better at getting the ball. They're doing a good job denying, and we can give you all the schemes of screening for me and all that stuff, but I just got to go get the ball.
Is it just being physical, like getting on top of the guy, and that's the way to do it, or how do you kind of see that?
I mean, angles, physicality, all those are part of it. A will is at the same time, you know what I mean? So just got to do a better job matching that intensity 48 minutes.
I think one thing TJ said about you is you just don't generally force the issue, that you don't take bad shots, and that's kind of one of the best things about you. I mean, do you have to force the issue? Does it ultimately come down to that to some extent of sometimes maybe going against what you might think is, instinct or whatever, and sort of forcing your way through certain things?
Maybe. I mean, I think just kind of feeling out the game and what's needed from me. Whatever that is in that said game. But I think just a level. There has to be a upwards tick in level of aggression from me, and I don't think that's a secret to anybody who's watching the series or anybody in our organization. They know that. So it's not a secret to me. I'll be better.
The Knicks align the same way starters again. What value do you need to get from Pascal and the size advantage he will have?
Yeah, I think we all got to be a lot better. I think it's not necessarily a size thing. I think it's just finishing possessions. Like, I think they shot 29 more shots than us, 30 more shots. Like, impossible to win a game when the team's doing that and you're turning the ball over. So those are the two main parts. I would love to get into the X's and O's of what we can do better offensively, what we can do better defensively. Those two things are just, I think, like attention to detail. Finishing possessions. It's no secret they're an elite offensive rebounding team, but we got to match that level of intensity, 48 minutes, and take care of the ball, which we've done for the whole postseason. So, I have no worries that we'll do that tomorrow.
After the game, you had told us my shows were terrible. I'm curious, do you get excited about a team trying to go at you more like, oh, we're going to pull Ty into the screen? Like, is that an exciting challenge for you to, like, have that?
Yeah, for sure. I think I was a lot better in the second half, and then going back and watching the film, like, it felt like I was bad, but when I watch the film, it like feels even worse, So just figuring out how I can fix those things is kind of the biggest thing for me. And I mean, it's in the NBA, once you do something that works, you just keep doing it, So I think we all understand that that's going to be the majority of their offense tomorrow is, kind of that double screen action with me in there, and we'll do a better job. We've had 2 days in between, so that's good for us to go over as a group and be ready to defend it.
What were the biggest things that stood out to you when you watched someone come defensively that you got to change? What did you look out there and say, man, that's really got to be a lot better?
I think just my angles and my angles in my shows, my closeout angles, and then just helping rebound, like understanding that, a lot of times when Hardenstein or those guys crash, they're not necessarily crashing to get two hands on the ball, they're crashing to just tip, and just had a conversation with our bigs, like if you guys just box yours out and our guards will do a better job of coming down. That starts with me. Getting down and rebounding and helping out, because the games that we've been good on the glass have been the games where our guards have really came down and helped. And then I think offensively we can crash better too, and use that to our advantage as well. So I think just as a group we got to be better rebounding the ball and taking care of the ball. Those are the two main things.
First elimination game for a lot of guys on this team. Any talk of the urgency of this, kind of what it means with the potential in it tomorrow night?
I don't think there really needs to be conversation. Like, what's known doesn't need to be spoken about. Guys know the intensity that we need to bring tomorrow. Obviously, with this being in our home court, that's exciting for us. But we know we got to have a level of desperation that we've never had before, and got to be ready to go 48 minutes and understand that every possession matters even more than it has all playoffs, and just have the right level of compete level tomorrow to be ready to go.
Game 5 and the rebounding discrepancy. Did you feel like it was an energy effort thing, a box out thing? Why did you feel like it got so lopsided?
You have effort and you have extra effort. You know what I mean? I feel like it's not like we play with a lack of effort. I feel like they just had the extra. They were obviously more motivated coming off of the game 4, and we got to treat game 6 the same way.
What's challenging, and you guys are scrambling, or you're putting 2 on the ball with Brunson, and finding your man specifically for a box out in that defensive moment?
Anytime you put 2 on the ball, it's going to be scramble situations, and at that point, it's just about making the proper read and the extra effort. We just talked about. So that's what the series is going to come down to. It's not going to be about offense, X's and O's, and it's literally going to be just the harder play, the aggression.
Ty just mentioned how much it means for the guards to be a part of that. For you, as you're trying to handle Hardenstein or whatever it might be, like, how much do guards mean in kind of that gang rebounding mentality?
It means a lot. I mean, at times it's tough because we preach getting out and playing fast. I know in their heads they want to lead because they want to try to roll. But unfortunately, this series is not what it's going to boil down to. And I think that, if I can't get my hand on the ball, I'm at least try to tip it out to one of our guys. And that's important that our guys are in there, underneath 3-point line or in the paint so they can grab it and we can run.
What's been good when you guys have been in rotation? It's gone well. What's gone well, and when it hasn't been good, what hasn't been good? It seems like that's kind of a big difference into where you guys are defending well or not is how you're doing when you are doubling the man and getting in rotation.
I mean, honestly, the whole thing we talk about is effort, right? I think that when we have our lineups out there, we're going to score. We know we have very potent offense, so it's never that. I mean, even offensively, our first initial effort is great. It's just that extra thrust when they get the offensive rebounds and have extra opportunity to score. That juices them up, and especially in their home building. We can't allow for that to happen. So it's just a continued effort on that part of the glass, and 1 through 15.
Ty had mentioned that they were denying him further than they typically have. As a teammate, how do you try to help him out in that situation? Because I know so much of your guys' offense is built around everyone making the right play and doing the right thing, but how do you try to help him either get the ball or figure out how aggressive he needs to be trying to come back again?
A lot of off-ball screening. I mean, that's pretty much what it's going to have to be. I mean, they're going to deny him playing full court. You got to find ways, to get him open. It's not. It's just part of the game that comes in the playoffs. I mean, you have your main guy. He's the main. The main folks are going to try to take out or nullify. So, just working more, making more concerted effort as a team to get them going.
Rick, this has nothing to do with anything, but why is Jenny always the first one out there? Is that like a part of her assignment, or she's always the first one whenever there's a dust up?
I wouldn't mess with her. She's a lot tougher than all of us.
Is that her assignment, or is that just something she does because she wants to?
It's an instinct.
Okay.
And if you know her career as a player, she was a fighter, and she was a tough-minded defensive person. So, yeah.
You touched on this the other day, but could you speak to the job that Kevin and yourself and Chad and Ryan and Kelly have done in rebuilding this? Because as you said the other day, sometimes it takes 9 years to really rebuild a franchise.
Look, this organization is great to work with. The communication between management and the coaching staff is exceptional. And look, you got to get lucky to get ahead of schedule. If indeed we are, it's still to be determined. But you get lucky because you do a tremendous amount of work, which those guys do. So anyway, that's kind of the story. This is just one of the great franchises in all of pro sports. So, but we got a lot ahead of us here tomorrow. So I don't want to get in too much of a feel-good mood after getting our ass kicked game 5. We really going to have to do a lot better.
Game 6 down 3-2 versus Game 6 up 3-2 the last series. Does the urgency change any different on a day like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first elimination game that we faced. So, there's always a high level of urgency. But when you face the possibility of the ending of your season, it certainly should be at a fever pitch.
That's what I was going to ask you about. You have talked about the rising intensity of every game with elimination as a backdrop now. And what do you have to tell your team differently heading into a game like that to either ignore it or shake it off as a player?
Play hard. That's what we got to do. That's what New York did in Game 5.
Did your perception of that game change at all, rewatching it?
No. I mean, the statistical numbers on possession and turnovers and all that. I mean, it tells a story of a wipeout. So we got a lot of things we got to do better. We got to do harder, and we got to do with a greater level of execution and detail. So we got our work ahead of us.
I guess did you just get a sense from today that message got through? I mean, like you said, it is obvious when you look at the numbers. Did you get the sense from the guys that they took in the obvious lesson from Game 5?
I'm not. Words don't accomplish anything. It's actions. So, tomorrow will be the key. Tomorrow will be the key. So, I know that we'll have a great crowd, a great building. But we're going to have to do a hell of a lot more things better.
After the game, I'd asked you about the 6-minute scoreless drought in that third quarter. You said you wanted to look at the film. I'm curious, just what do you see in maybe that stretch or maybe your offensive struggles just in general?
Well, I don't have a blow-by-blow for you on it, but I would assume with a high degree of certainty that it had a lot to do with giving them a bunch of second shots and and third shots. And so, if you can't come up with a ball and have at least a respectable level of possession, for the game, you're not going to win in the second round of the NBA playoffs. So we got to do better there.
Much gets said about home court advantage, but just why? How do you quantify why your guys have been as much better at home versus on the road in these playoffs?
Most teams play better at home. So that's it. But we don't assume anything. We're not just going to show up at home and have that guarantee us anything other than that we showed up. We showed up to the arena at Game 5, but we didn't really show up with any level of hard play or urgency. So a lot's got to change there.
You guys have been built on being a team offense, moving the ball. How hard do you want Ty to fight denials? Like when he gets off the ball and then he gets denied again, what's kind of the sweet spot for him for getting the ball back in his hands versus letting his teammates do what they need to do?
The sweet spot is go rebound the ball and, not take it out of the net, and things will be a lot different.
This is the first time you guys have been facing elimination going into the game. What do you say, or how do you address the team in a leadership position in that spot?
We got to play better. We got to respond from the game we had. Obviously, we didn't play the way we were supposed to. We know we got to play a lot harder, and obviously desperate. So that's the mindset.
How does your spots change when they go smaller like that with their starting five? Like, where do you think of your role differently when the game opens like that?
No, I think it's the same. Just continue to read the game and find my spots.
Greg was talking about the rebounding and how it just needs to be better. How much do the guards and the wings lead to it? I know we always think of bigs as the people that grab rebounds, but for you guys as a team?
5. We all got to rebound. All 5 of us. Everyone got to be better.
What just stood out as to why it was as bad as it was?
They got more basketball than they got more.
Right.
They got more than us. So we got to try to get more than them.
Is there a heightened sense of urgency with Friday being an elimination game? Do you sense that among the group?
I think every game in the playoffs is urgent. So I think obviously you win or you go home kind of thing. But every game has been like that. That's the playoffs, and our intensity got to be at a high level. And I think obviously being home helps and being in front of our home crowd and trying to
give everything that we got for them and put it all out on the floor.
It felt like that was kind of the most that they've denied Ty the ball. How do you guys try to help out with that or help him get those?
Yeah, I know. I just continue to work through the offensive sets, and he got to work harder. We got to work harder to make sure that he gets the ball.